Ms. Escobar.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I have to say, I so appreciate your collegial nature on this committee. When you stepped out for a moment, we got an example of the exact opposite, and it was a little shocking to me. So I want you to know I appreciate you and your leadership, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Collins, I have a question about the VA Servicing Purchase Program, or VASP, which has helped about 17,000 veterans avoid foreclosure after falling behind on their mortgages. And public reports indicate nearly 90,000 VA loans are seriously past due, with approximately 33,000 of those already in the foreclosure process. Can you tell me why was VASP terminated without first instituting an immediately available alternative option to provide foreclosure relief to our veterans?
Thank you, Councilwoman. This is an interesting part because this was a program that was not started from Congress, was not initiated from Congress. It was initiated inside VBA last year from funds that they redirected at that point. Interestingly enough, I'm not sure they actually came to you for redirection on that from last year because it was obviously something not from this body. The problem it puts us in, and there's been vehement kickback from Congress, especially the chairman of the House Veterans Committee, that says, and basically it's indicating, this is not something the VA should be in. We should not be buying or be in the mortgage loan business. In fact, what happened since last year, 17,000 at-risk mortgages were assumed at $5.4 billion assumption on the VA, not anywhere else, and there was nothing to go. There was estimates internal, if this program was continuing, estimates as high as $17 billion. We're taking property that we have no control over in the sense of how do we get rid of it, how do we manage it, or do anything else. And at the end of the day, it was not helping the situation of veterans who had gotten behind in their payments or other. These were not taking people who had no home and not giving them a chance at a home, which is our mortgage process. This was taking folks who may have, gotten in trouble not being able to pay their loan payments. They could resize, redownsize, and still have access to any other VA benefit from our mortgage side of the house as well. So this was just a program when you have to go through the system and it was up for renewal, which again, we were going to have to come to this body and ask for billions of dollars more because they were taking it from mandatory. This was not my program. This was started previously. It was just made the determination with the stuff that we've got going on in the VA, that there's other ways that we could help in this situation using other agencies and others, but for us to assume mortgages, it puts us in a very legally binding issue and also a liability issue going along on these properties if they sit vacant and things like that.
So have you thought through, you and your team, have you all thought through a plan for having some of those other agencies, as you mentioned, kind of take this over?
There's not necessarily taking it over. I think there's a discussion on what do we need to do to keep this from happening to start with, to keep the veteran out of the situations that they're in. That's a bigger conversation that could be had. I mean, and again, I want to make it very clear, this has nothing to do with homelessness. And unfortunately, there was a little bit of discussion that does this affect homelessness? This has nothing to do with that program. This has folks who actually purchased the mortgages. We're open to it. I know there's some legislation going through Congress and especially in the Veterans Affairs Committee on a partial claims kind of issue that would give some relief, but again, not put us on the hook for that much liability. Again, I don't underestimate the heart necessarily of what's trying to happen, but this was a sort of an out of the blue kind of thing that VBA, who was having enough problems with everything else that they're doing, decided to start a program we shouldn't have.
I get what you're saying, so I appreciate that. But I do want to dig in a little bit, so I'm going to ask, if you don't mind, if you can follow up with me, if you and your team can follow up with me. I'm interested in knowing how many veterans were waiting for VASP assistance, what specific guidance the VA shared with those veterans after VASP was terminated, and also the number of veterans who, to y'all's knowledge, entered foreclosure or serious mortgage delinquency spanning the date of VASP cancellation to the date of your response, if you wouldn't mind. And we'll get that to you in writing.
That'd be great. And can I just say one thing? Is a problem we had from what was, and again, these are rough numbers, we'll get you more. There's about 5,000 that had applied that had not got. Nobody was under the program was taken off the program. That's also something to understand. We did no more re-entrants after May 1st. And so there's nobody that was in the program that was kicked off the program. This was just saying we're not adding anymore.
Okay.
But I'll help you get the other information.
Perfect. And I'm just about out of time, so I'll have to get you my other questions in writing. Thank you. I yield
Thank
back.
you.